Once upon a time there was an old goat. She had 7 kids. She loved them as much as only a mother can love her children. She was going to go into the forest, bring herbs and branches for lunch. She called all her children and warned them to be afraid of the evil wolf. He often pretends, but you can immediately recognize him by his rude voice and black paws. The kids understood everything and assured their mother that they would be very careful. The old goat set off calmly. Little time has passed. Suddenly, someone knocked on the door and shouted in a rude voice that the kids should immediately open it. But the kids from the rough voice realized that it was a wolf. They answered that it was not mother's voice. Her voice was kind and thin, and this voice was very rude, which means it was a wolf. Then the wolf went to the merchant and bought himself a large piece of chalk. He ate it, and his voice became thin. He came back, knocked on the door, and in a thin voice asked the kids to open it. The wolf put its paw on the window and waits. And the kids saw her and answered that the mother's paws were not black, but white, which means it was a wolf. Then the wolf ran to the bakery and asked to give him some dough. The wolf anointed his paw with the dough. The villain approached the door for the 3rd time, put his white paw on the window and knocked. They saw the kids that the paw was white, and thought that it was their mother. They opened the door, but there was a wolf in front of them. They got scared and began to scatter in all directions. One kid jumped under the table, another on the bed, the 3rd on the stove, the 4th into the kitchen, the 5th into the closet, the 6th under the sink, and the 7th hid in the grandfather clock. But the wolf found them all, opened its jaws and swallowed one by one. Only one thing he did not find: the youngest, who hid in the clock. Having eaten his fill, the wolf left. He stretched out on a green meadow under a tree and fell asleep. Soon an old goat came home from the forest. Oh, what did she see there? The door was wide open. The table, chairs, benches were overturned. The wash basin was broken. Pillows and blankets were thrown from the bed. She began to look for her children, but she could not find them anywhere. I called them by name, but no one answered. She went up to the clock, and in response there was a thin voice of the youngest kid. She took him out of there, and he said that a wolf came and ate everyone. How the goat cried for her poor children. Finally, she left the house, and the youngest kid ran after her. She came to the meadow, so a wolf was lying by the tree and snoring, so that the branches were trembling. She looked at him from all sides and saw that in his swollen belly something was moving and floundering. She guessed that these were her children, and was very happy that they were still alive. She told the kid to run home as quickly as possible and bring scissors, a needle and thread. Then the goat cut the belly of the wolf with scissors, and from there one kid stuck out its head. And then the others jumped out, all 6, and nothing bad happened to them. What a joy it was! They began to hug their mother, jump and dance. Then the old goat said it would be nice to teach the wolf a lesson while he was still sleeping. They pulled stones and stuffed them into the wolf's belly. An old goat sewed up his belly, but he did not notice anything, never even moved. The wolf slept, got to his feet and felt such a thirst in his belly that he decided to drink water from the well. He barely approached the well, bent down to the water, and heavy stones pulled him to the bottom of the well. 7 kids saw this, and began to dance for joy with their mother. That's how they taught the evil wolf a lesson. One day, all the animals on the farm were left without food. Then one little red hen decided to go to the field and look for something to eat. It was sad to walk alone, so the hen went to the cow and invited her to walk together. But the cow did not want to go anywhere, and therefore said that she was very hot and she would stay on the farm. Then the chicken went to the pig, but she did not want to leave her cool puddle. So, the chicken decided to ask the dog for help, but he wished to stay in his booth. Finally, the chicken went to the duck. After a short thought, she also refused to leave the pond. Nobody wanted to go with the chicken, so she had to look for food alone. So, a chicken walked across the field and found several grains of wheat. Joyful, she returned to the farm and decided to plant the seed she found. The chicken thought that friends could help her. She showed the grains to the cow and offered to plant them together. But the cow was still very hot. Then the hen approached the pig, but she refused to help. So, the chicken turned to the dog, but he did not want to leave the booth. The last hen asked for help from the duck, but she decided to stay in her favorite pond. And the chicken had to plant the seeds alone. Weeks passed, the rains began, and the seeds sprouted. It would be worth weeding them. Then the chicken asked her friends who could help her. The cow said it was raining today. The pig did not want to move. The dog was afraid to get dirty, and the duck complained about its health. And again the chicken had to do everything herself. The little red hen weeded the bed alone. After a while, the wheat grew and it was time to harvest. Then the chicken invited her friends to collect wheat together. But the cow was very busy. The pig did not want to get out of its puddle. The dog hid in his booth, and the duck did not listen to the chicken at all. So the little red hen worked until nightfall. She was harvesting wheat, ear by ear. Finally, it was time to turn the grains into flour. The chicken again went to ask for help from her friends. Then the cow said that it was time for her to give milk, and refused to leave the barn. The pig didn't want to help either. The dog said that he did not know how to make flour, and the duck was very busy swimming in the pond. The little chicken chopped the wheat herself and turned it into flour. Finally, it's time to bake delicious bread. The chicken turned to her friends for help. But the cow had no time for work. The pig is too tired to help. The dog was busy, and the duck said that she did not know how to bake bread at all. This time, the chicken got really angry. She went to the kitchen, and she kneaded the dough from the flour that she ground. She put it in the mold herself, sent it to the oven and waited for the bread to be baked. When the aroma of fresh baked goods spread around, the chicken took the bread out of the oven. She went out into the garden, sat down at the table, and called her friends. Seeing fresh bread, all the inhabitants of the farm crowded around the chicken. They all wanted to eat well. But the chicken said that she would not share with her friends. After all, she made the bread herself, and therefore only she deserved to eat. And with great appetite, the chicken began to peck at the bread. But she couldn't come to terms with the fact that her friends were hungry. Then the chicken decided to share food, but only if her friends promised to continue to help her in everything. Now all the animals were ashamed of their behavior, because they realized that the chicken was right. And they promised to always help each other in everything. The little red hen knew that her friends were learning a real lesson. She shared bread with them. The friends ate together, became well-fed and contented. They lived on their farm for a long time and always helped each other.